Welcome back to the Kenn Blanchard Show. I'm not sure how you're going to like this episode. If you think the president, Donald Trump, is the best thing since free porn, you might not like this show. But we're talking about honeypots and Popeyes chicken. Recorded live, not too far from the nation's capital, between the Patuxent and the Chesapeake Bay. It's your friend and brother from another mother, the Reverend Kenn Blanchard. And this, my friend, is the Kenn Blanchard Show. Hey, can you believe that November is here already? And there's some crazy stuff happening. Folks are getting ready for Thanksgiving already, for travel plans. There's a storm coming this way. Yes, there is a snowstorm coming this way. Depending on where you are on the East Coast, it's already hit the Chicago and Detroit area, that part of the world. It's coming this way, y'all. Oh, it's going to be cold. And maybe once it gets closer to the Christmas season, folks will get a little nicer, because right now they are off the hook. This week in the unbelievable department, a man was stabbed to death over Popeye's chicken sandwich in Oxon Hill, Maryland.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
A fight that broke out when somebody jumped ahead in the line for Popeye's popular chicken sandwich turned deadly in Oxon Hill, Maryland, Monday night. Prince George's County Police said a 28-year-old man died after he was stabbed multiple times while in the parking lot of the restaurant on Livingston Road in Oxon Hill Plaza. They said, "We have been able to determine that preliminarily that this is related to the release of the sandwich here at this restaurant. This individual was in line, a line specifically for the sale of the sandwich, when another customer and he got into an altercation that ended with the victim being stabbed outside of the business," said Jennifer Dullan, spokeswoman for the police department, during a news conference. When police got to the scene around 7 p.m., officers immediately started life-saving measures. The victim died 51 minutes later at the hospital.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
What do you think about that? Let me know. All right, after coming off a successful ketone diet, our sponsor is Trubrain, trubrain.com. Please use this link and I can get credit for it. Check it out. It's brain food designed by UCLA trained neuroscientists to help you create faster impact, more and grab more life. Trubrain.com. It's brain food, helps you with ketosis, and it's good stuff. Check it out at trubrain.com. And please use that link in the show notes so they know that you heard it here on the Kenn Blanchard podcast. And this weekend is a 3-day holiday. Yay, somebody. Veterans Day falls on the second Monday in November this year. The federal holiday is celebrated every year on November 11th, regardless of the day the week it falls on. It was first recognized as Armistice Day in 1919. Veterans Day marks the date when Germany and the Allies signed the 1918 agreement to cease World War I hostilities. The fighting ceased on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, according to the Department of Veterans Affairs. President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day, saying, "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory." In 1938, Congress passed a law to mark November 11th as a legal holiday. And in 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower signed a law that changed the name to its current form, Veterans Day. And right before Veterans Day is the birth date of the Marine Corps. The few and the proud will be celebrating on 10 November, a traditional ball and cake cutting ceremony. On that day in 1775, the Continental Marines were established. All around the world, this week, whenever they can, Marines will be getting together to celebrate the birth date of the Marine Corps. This has been a staple since November 1st, 1921, when the then Commandant of the Marine Corps, John A. Lejeune, created this Marine Corps Order number 47. From headquarters, U.S. Marine Corps, Washington, D.C., November 1st, 1921, he said, "The following will be read to the command on the 10th of November, 1921, and hereafter on the 10th of November of every year. Should the order not be received by the 10th of November, 1921, it will be read upon receipt." And it's been modified by every commandant since then, but the original sounded like this. On November 10th, 1775, a Corps of Marines was created by a resolution of Continental Congress. Since that date, many thousand men have borne the name Marine. In memory of them, it is fitting that we who are Marines should commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind the glories of its long and illustrious history. The record of our Corps is one which will bear comparison with that of the most famous military organizations in the world's history. During 90 of the 146 years of its existence, the Marine Corps has been in action against the nation's foes. From the Battle of Trenton to the Argonne, Marines have won foremost honors in war, and in long eras of tranquility at home, generation after generation of Marines have grown gray in war in both hemispheres and in every corner of the seven seas, that our country and its citizens might enjoy peace and security. In every battle and skirmish since the birth of our Corps, Marines have acquitted themselves with greatest distinction, winning new honors on each occasion until the term Marine has come to signify all that is highest in military efficiency and soldierly virtue. This high name of distinction and soldierly repute we who are Marines today have received from those who preceded us in the Corps. With it, we have also received from them the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation and has been the distinguishing mark of the Marines in every age. So long as that spirit continues to flourish, Marines will be found equal to every emergency in the future as they have been in the past, and the men of our nation will regard us as worthy successors to the long line of illustrious men who have served as, quote, soldiers of the sea since the founding of the Corps. Signed, John A. Lejeune, Major General Commandant. And in 2019, it's 244 years of success. I think what makes a Marine special, if only in our own minds, is that elusive quality of esprit de corps. It's the fact that we as individual Marines don't feel that we are individual Marines. When we wear our uniform, when we hear our hymn, when we go into battle, we are going with every other Marine who's ever wore the uniform. Standing behind us are the Marines who fought during the birth of our nation. We're standing with the Marines who fought in World War I and gave birth to the legend of the Tuffenschund, or Devil Dogs. We're standing with the Marines who took Iwo and Tarawa and countless other blood-soaked islands throughout the Pacific. We're standing with the Frozen Chosen and our beloved Chesty Puller. We're standing with the Marines who battled at Hue City and Khe Sanh and the muddy rice paddies of Southeast Asia. We are standing with the Marines who fought in Desert Storm and Iraqi freedom and are now fighting in Afghanistan. Like real brothers, their blood courses through our veins. And when we go into battle, we would rather lay down our lives than be a disappointment to them. We carry on our backs their legacy, their deaths, and their honor. We carry that for the rest of our lives. The Marine Corps uniform doesn't come off when our active duty is over. We wear it daily in our attitude and our love of Corps and country. We wear it on our tattoos, on bumper stickers. We wear it in our hearts. It's why, no matter where we are in the world on November 10th, every Marine celebrates the Marine Corps birthday. It's why we'll never be an army of one. It's why we'll never stop being Marines. It's why, for most of us, being a Marine isn't something we were. It's something we are. It's the most important part of who and what we are. Some say we're arrogant. Some say we're proud. We have a right to be proud. We are the United States Marines, the most feared and ferocious group of warriors to walk the face of this earth. When America's enemies formulate their battle plans, they plan on going around Marine units because they know damn well that they can't go through them. We are what other branches wish they were. We are modern-day Spartans. This isn't bragging. It's written in the battle history of our country. When there's a parade and the Marines march by, everybody pays a little bit more attention. Some say it's arrogance. We call it pride. It's why, in a crowd of servicemen, you can always spot the Marine. Why are Marines special? I don't know. We just are. Often tested, always faithful. Brothers forever. Happy birthday, Marines. Semper Fidelis. Hoorah! Have you heard my other podcast? Speak Life. Proverbs 18:21 says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Join me in faith and be a part of my family on a podcast that gives you what you missed in church. SpeakLifePodcast.com. Serving Jesus without boundaries. SpeakLifePodcast.com. And we're on Facebook too. SpeakLifePodcast.com. How are you with spy films? You know, today, if it doesn't have a lot of action in it, people don't watch it. The Bourne Identity franchise, the Mission Impossible franchise have kind of taken over with spy films. But back in the day, they were more suspenseful, more cerebral. Here's a list, not counting the James Bond films, of some of the top spy movies. Have you ever seen the original Mission Impossible movie? The first one that Tom Cruise did. How about Tinker Tailor Sailor Spy? 3 Days of the Condor, Robert Redford. He also did one, what's the other one by Robert Redford? Oh yeah, Spy Game. A little bit older. No Way Out with Kevin Costner, early. The black and white version of The Manchurian Candidate. The Epirus Files with Michael Caine. The classic that you can learn from, North by Northwest by Alfred Hitchcock. For 17 years, I was an employee of the Central Intelligence Agency, and I entered that whole thing as a newbie, had no clue of what I was doing, what I was learning, didn't know what I was involved in until afterwards. We made movies about it. We saw takes, and people have commentaries about stuff that happened during the year that I was actually employed in doing cool stuff. Spying is real. Even though we don't give it the strength and the gist and the attention needed to, it's still a crime. In 1917, during World War I, the U.S. passed the Espionage Act. The law has been amended many times over the years, but it is intended to prohibit interference with military operations or recruitment efforts to prevent insubordination in the military and to bar the support of enemy states. In 1919, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Schneck versus the U.S. and held unanimously that the Espionage Act did not violate the U.S. constitutional First Amendment right of free speech. Nevertheless, the law has been repeatedly tested in the court since then, almost 100 years ago. We've had some real spies. Some of the most notable figures changed include German-American Socialist Congressman and newspaper editor Victor Berger, former Watchtower Bible and Tract Society president Joseph Franklin Rutherford, communist Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, the Pentagon Papers whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg, Cablegate whistleblower Chelsea Manning, formerly Bradley, and NSA contractor and whistleblower Edward Snowden. Now, when it hits the news and they say that the FBI arrested somebody, nobody really pays attention to it. Everybody thinks of spying as being a sexy thing, but the full scope and application of the law is still a matter of some debate. The recent revelation of the federal government's electronic snooping of U.S. citizens for national security purposes has reignited the interest in this body of law. Now, while the Espionage Act likely does not apply to American intelligence gathering outside of the U.S., spying on us here in the U.S. may be a violation, particularly if any of that information is shared in any way with foreign powers. Let me say that again. If you are in the U.S. and you share information from America with foreign governments, it's an act of espionage. Spying is considered a crime in many countries with harsh punishments, including death. One of the FBI's missions is to protect the United States against foreign intelligence operations and espionage. In June 2010, 11 Russian spies were charged with 2 separate criminal complaints of espionage. The suspects were acting as unlawful agents of the Russian Federation within the United States. Now, while the FBI has always listed Russia as one of their top 5 intelligence threats, many U.S. citizens thought the Russian threat was over, long gone since the Cold War. There have been many espionage arrests made throughout the years, and in 1985, There were so many is often referred to as the year of the spy. Among those arrests, the one that many people came to know through the movie Breach was that of Robert Hansen. He committed treason and sold state secrets to the Soviets. Spying. The practice is clandestine, as it is by definition unwelcome. In some circumstances, it may be a legal tool of law enforcement, and in others, it may be illegal and punishable by law. Espionage is a method of intelligence gathering which includes information gathering from non-disclosed sources. One of the ways that the Russians, the Soviets, are enemies of the state, do it is by what they call the honeypot. The honeypot. It's a trap that uses sex to lure an enemy agent into disclosing classified information, or in some cases to capture or kill them. In that classic Hitchcock film, North by Northwest, the actress Eva Marie Saint character was both a honeypot and a double agent. What typically happens is you find somebody who's of influence, or who can be influenced, who may have access in the future, and they are given this honeypot. She will be a model, very, very attractive, and working for the foreign government. She may marry the person. She may just have sexual relationships. She might just do whatever is necessary to get their attention and get blackmail eventually. It's a long game. It's like coming from the people who invented the game chess. It takes strategy. It takes planning. They will wait for it. Unlike in the U.S., Soviets will use liquor and a honeypot over technology. Now, who does that work on? It works on for somebody who is narcissistic. It works on somebody with a big ego who needs to be stroked, who likes to be around women in particular. And it doesn't have to be women. Actually, they can use whatever sexual thing that gets to you. Anything. But usually, in the old school days, it was typically a very attractive lady would be sent your way, and they would get you compromised in some way, have you doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, fulfilling your fantasies and your dreams, and record all of it so they can blackmail you and lead you down a path to make you compromise your government later on. You wouldn't know it immediately, but they would do tests to make sure to see whether you were likely to continue with this relationship. It's a long game. And then in hopes that someday you may rise to power, you may become of worth. And if not, they just cut you loose, might even tell the FBI that they have used you so that you can get locked up and be of no further danger to them for their sources and methods. Or they just keep stringing you along in hopes that maybe someday you might become the president of the United States. I personally think our government is in trouble. I think pride in politics is keeping it from being disclosed. The folks in the know are trying their best to keep the regular folks from losing faith in the government, preventing anarchy, confusion. The shutdown continues the longer our government fails to act. For the one or two people who listen to this episode, I want your ears and your eyes to be open. I believe the U.S. is under the influence. I believe a sitting president has been spotted, assessed, and developed by Russian intelligence. This is not a movie. If the person in question has been recruited by Russian intelligence, how would you know? If the intelligence operative was the head of the KGB and money was not a problem, the target would have a hard time stopping the development. If the person being targeted was played by the classic honeypot model, in the long term, that's a good insurance plan. What would Russian influencers gain from recruiting an influential person in the United States? I can sum it up to just one word: control. Control of the government, control of your money, control of your future. It would cause division. It would cause social anarchy. It would cause political unrest. It would foster mistrust of American systems. It would weaken the military. We would leave places that Russia wanted us to leave. It would weaken foreign policy. It would weaken diplomacy. It would exploit our Democrat versus Republican foolishness. But this can't happen. We have the FBI, we have the CIA. But what if the FBI was looked upon as the bad guy? If they were thwarted at every turn? If the CIA was pushed down? If their intelligence was not appreciated? If they were made to look as if they were against the man? I don't know whether you like the current president or not, but look at our history. Look at those who have been busted for espionage. They weren't in power like this guy. What are we doing? How about the building of hotels in Russia? How about the foreigners who are here in Washington, D.C., in the Trump Hotel? Is the current First Lady a honeypot? All right, I think that's all the damage I can do for one day and for 1 week. Let me know what you think of this episode. If I said something that just ticked you off or made you go, I wonder. Love to hear your comments. I'm on Facebook, The Kenn Blanchard Show. We have a Facebook page. Join me there. Let me know what you think of this show or this episode or me or the weather. Holla. If you like the show, tell your mama. Shalom, baby.